Welcome back to my car shop. Today we're going to continue working on this rear frame rail for Stitches, our 70 Challenger project. Hope you enjoy the episode.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
So what we're accomplishing today is on the bottom part of that frame rail down there, we're going to start the process of doing those inner pieces, getting those cut out, getting them shrunk and stretched the way they need to be to follow that contour, and then we're going to make the cap to go on the frame. Hopefully today we'll get that tacked together as well, but that's the progress we're going to make today so that we can get this frame rail welded solid and get it ready to start putting it in the car, hopefully in the next episode or two. So making big progress here. So I've got one of the scraps that I cut out from when we did the frame rail sides, and I need a piece that is I need a couple of pieces that are about 24 inches long and about 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide. So hopefully I can get a couple of those out of here. I'm going to use my super cleaner just to degrease this a little bit so that I can write on it with the marker. I really like the way this works. It's not necessarily what it's intended for, but it works good to clean sheet metal, so why not use it? So I want the piece to be probably like 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch. So that would make me throw my tape measure on the floor. So whatever 1 inch plus 3/4 of an inch is, let's see, that would be, 1 inch and 3/4. I'm obviously being silly. And apparently my tape measure now is jammed. So I will need 2 pieces. So basically I need to come over 4 inches, which gives me plenty of room here. So I'm just going to mark out my 24 inches so I know where that is. Well, apparently today's the day to throw everything on the floor. Let's make sure I'm close to 4. Yeah, plenty of room. Okay, good. So obviously I don't want to lay all that out at once because when I cut it, I want to do it properly. So we're going to do 1 3/4 inches here. And again, I'm not caring about precision that much. If I was, I wouldn't be using a fat tip marker. For this stuff, give or take 1/8 of an inch is more than adequate. So we'll lay this out here. Let me just make sure. Yep, because my bend is going to be at 3/4 of an inch in from the edge. And the reason I'll have then the piece that I shrink will be about 1 inch, and then the flange on the bottom that I'll weld the cap to will be about 3/4. So not exactly the way I did it last time, but something I learned the way I did the last one, that I wanted to have a little bit more flange up into the frame rail if possible. Okay, so everything's laid out, plasma cutter's ready to go. See what we can do. One down. One to go. One thing, again, the plasma cutter makes this go about 10 times faster. So this frame rail, you'd be surprised at how little time I have into it because of the less time I had to spend cutting everything out and so forth. So I'm liking that. When it comes to being detailed and meticulous, I always look at the context. There's no point in being anal about making everything perfect here on a part that's going to be inside and completely hidden. You want it to be functional. You obviously don't want it to look crude for your own sense of satisfaction, but always look at the context of what you're doing with something so that you don't waste a ton of time trying to make something absolutely perfect when it just doesn't matter. Part of learning fabrication is learning how to, when good enough is good enough, and when you really need to be perfect in what you're doing. See, now I need to cut off here, and I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut the extra material at the same length as this one, just so I have a little extra. Why not? And again, we're just looking at a ballpark, not looking to be perfect. So I need to buzz those off with the plasma as well, and then we'll be good to go. So now we're going to lay out our 3/4 inch line so we know where to bend it in the break. As soon as I find my tape measure. There we go. Okay, there we go. I better be careful when I'm whistling. I might get a copyright violation. Okay, so now this will be the part that goes up into the frame, and we'll bend this, and then we'll start shrinking and stretching along this edge to get this to match the contour of the edge of that frame rail. This other one's cooled down enough we can do it now too. So now I want to make a fixed distance from the end of the frame rail here up to where the bending is going to start. So I got 24 inches on this, like I said, so I want to kind of do what makes sense here. And I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think I'm going to come up probably at 17 inches from the end, and then if I have to trim that off, I will. So I'll do that on both of them so I have a fixed point to start. Of course, I'm on the wrong side. Not that it matters, but I like to try to think of these frame rails, how they're actually going to be assembled. So this piece here, our 3/4 inch flange will be on the bottom, like so. Okay, so of course this actually goes from here up and around, which is why we're doing all the shrinking and the stretching. So if we lay this out, we kind of get a ballpark on the idea that we need to shrink in here, and we're going to need to stretch up in here. So as we put this in the shrinker stretcher, we will have a good feel for how that works. I guess I also want to kind of roll that up and say I'm probably going to stop shrinking in here, and I'm probably going to start stretching from here to probably in here-ish. I did cut this a little bit wonky in there, so I think the place to start probably is over here, shrinking this one a little bit. Get the handle in here. I'm going to try to do this where you can see what's going on. I don't think I want to be much more than there. So as I'm coming along here and I'm shrinking this, little bits at a time. Again, it's like eating the elephant, right? We don't need to get carried away. So you can see now that our contour is really good. It lines up down here. Our contour comes up and around and matches. So it's twisted a little bit. I've got to put the shrinker stretcher on this edge and get things kind of bent back in place. The other thing that happened was it split a little bit right in here, but I don't care about that. This is a much better way to go than pie slicing because it's going to have a lot more strength when I get it all welded in. So no biggie. But yes, we need to do a little hammer and dolly work, get things bent back in shape where they belong, and get this flattened out because right now it's not flat. It's curling up here on the end, which means I need to stretch this, and I probably need to stretch this a little bit in here as well. I apologize for getting ahead of myself here. It's easy for me to do that. I didn't show you exactly how I know what needs to happen here. And you guys want details, obviously, so I need to slow down and give you the details. You can see that the frame, this piece starts to lift off the flat surface right here. And then again, about right in here. So I just need to basically stretch this material here down to where this comes flat. Not sure, see how flat that is itself. So the whole thing is rounded, you can see that. So that means I need to do that over the whole thing in here. I need to stretch that so that pushes down. And the same thing back here. This is fairly flat back here, so it doesn't need as much. It just needs a little bit of shrinking or stretching in that area there. Once you get beyond the fact of how long this takes, it's actually quite fun. I thoroughly enjoy doing this. It's just, I get a real kick out of taking this material and just bending it around to where I want it, and so it looks like what I want it to look like. I think that's pretty close there. Yep, absolutely flat now. Flat enough for what it's for. So it doesn't take much. Again, this edge is 3/4 of an inch, so I'm not having to work it as hard as this 1 inch, but I really wanted this wider piece in here for welding, because I'm going to plug weld through the frame like I did on the other one, and then of course on the inside we will also run a bead across the whole thing. All right, so stretch this a little bit, and this needs to go over the entire. I'm actually going to start back here because I see I got a little bow in there. Not much, just a little bit. Kind of working along. Once I get up in here, I'll start getting a little more aggressive with it. Yeah, boy, I got to be careful because that really moves fast. I don't know what it is about this stretcher, why it bites so hard and catches, but it likes to for some reason that I don't understand. And these little jaws keep coming loose. That's kind of annoying. That's probably part of the issue. I don't have as much problem with the shrinker, but the stretcher really likes to do that. I hardly feel like I'm moving the material at this point, but you got to kind of ease your way into it. You don't want to get carried away. I can see I got a little whoop right in there. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. God, don't tell anybody. They'll expect it of me all the time. So yeah, it's nice and flat, like I said. A little hammer and dolly work, but because the angles got a little messed up, but it's close enough. I want to leave this one like it is for now and get the other one done, and then we'll take them both over to the wooden block and just hammer and dolly them into shape before we get ready to start attaching them in here. You can see how nicely that lays out. Remember, this frame wheel is not perfectly flat either, so this will help give it some shape. But when we can lay it flat on the bench, and it's a little bit bowed in here, so I know there's a little bit of work to do. That's because this angle in here is down a little bit, so it's not going to lay on the metal perfect anyway. But it's darn close, and that's where we want to get started with it. We're getting close. Got a couple of issues here, not big issues, but it's all part of it. So I feel comfortable down here. I think it matches the contour really well. Comes up nicely here, but I think I got a little carried away, and I compared it against the other one as well, as you probably saw me do on the time lapse. I need to shrink this a little bit and bring the stretch up to a different location. So that's part of this. Is you're gonna make mistakes. Don't sweat it. You just go back and stretch out what you shrunk or shrink out what you stretched. As you can see, the curvature comes along way too fast in here. So I need to go back in here, and I think right in this area here, just add some shrinking in here to bring this up a little bit in this area, and then I can stretch it some more to get it to come around where it needs to be. Okay, so the same thing now. We line this up, and I think it's good. Looks a little funky in here, but I don't think it is. No, it's fine. And if I need to tweak it a little bit when we're done, I still can. Yeah, it still might be a little bit off. I'm not sure. It's good there, all the way up to there, up there. Yeah, it's close. It may need to come back a little bit in here, but let me get it straight this way so it lays flat, because it's obviously got the same issues as the other one did. So we lay them together, and you can see we got some imperfections, but we'll tag these together and do some hammer and dolly work and get everything straightened out the way it needs to be. But we're really close, so not a big concern. Alright, I think it's pretty good. So when we put it in, of course, it will be slid down in a little further to allow room for the cap. But yeah, I think we're good. So I want to get the other one done the same way. So frame rail B is fine, but we have an issue here with A where I got to tweak this a little bit here. It's up too far now that I got it put in exactly the position it needs to be. It needs to stretch a little bit in here to bring this down. And then I think we'll have to change some things up here, but let's get this. Well, I know we will. We'll have to probably shrink this up in here to get it where it needs to be. But I need to fix this first. So we rough it in, and then we start getting really fine detailed with it. And there we go. I didn't take time to put the camera going. I was running back and forth here like a chicken with my head cut off. Looks good. Close enough. So I've checked them against each other, and they're looking good. It's time to take a break. We'll come back. We will drill some plug weld holes, and then we will tack these pieces inside and get them lined up against each other and make sure that everything's coming out the way we want. So my next step is I'm just going to trace these out so I know exactly where they're going to go. I've got them, at least this one I've got lined up so it's just below, so that if you remember last time I wanted the inner piece to have just a little bit of a lip, so when I lay that sheet metal cap in there, I can kind of peen that over and weld that all up. So I've got this one in position exactly right. So I'm going to trace it. That way I know exactly where to do my plug weld holes. Also gives me exactly where to put it back in position. So I need to check the other one and make sure that it's also lined up that way, and I didn't think it was. So I'm going to move this one around and get it lined up so I can trace it as well. And again, I'm just trying to move it down just enough so that I can lay that sheet metal cap in there. Steal this one. It's rather ironic. I mean, it seems like this takes a lot of time, but it really doesn't. Something else I'm noticing here. Got to do a little more tweak on this one. The end of this is it's angled a little bit, so I just need to determine what I need to do here. I think what I need to do is actually flatten this just a skosh right in here, which means I need to I'm going to flatten it. Which way do I need to go? I hit lunch now, my brain doesn't want to work. Shrinking it would pull it more, so I need to stretch it a little bit. I've got them laid out now, dimension from here to here, 17 inches on both, which was my starting line. If you remember, they follow the contour decent. They clamp down nice, so good enough. I'm happy with the way it's going. So the next step is take these back off again and go through and drill my plug weld holes in there, and that'll work well. So drill those holes. I don't know how many I'm going to drill, probably every 4 to 6 inches probably. And then I'll go ahead and tack weld these on so we can start calculating the rest. I don't want to weld these solid yet. One of the mistakes I made last time, and it worked out all right, was I forgot to weld these on to these pieces before I put the frame rail together. I was able to do it down inside the frame and it was all right, but I would prefer to do it obviously out here. So it'll be plug welded as well as stitch welded along the outside edges. Then we'll make our cap. I also need to make this piece down here yet, but we're getting close. So I'm going to go ahead and drill those plug weld holes now. So one side's done, we just got to lather, rinse, and repeat, do the other side. I really like the layout of these holes, the way it looks, so I'll just lay one frame rail over the other one. Take my magic marker, get them lined up, just go through and approximate where I want them. That way they'll, not that I care about looks, but I just felt like it was a good layout. Close enough. Now we'll go through, they laid out nicely, go through, center punch those and drill those. I won't waste your time with that. You already seen me drill holes once. So this one's all cleaned up, and I went through with the grinder and touched the edges up a little bit and so forth. I got some burr to remove on this side, but one thing I need to do is get some of that heat resistant paint on the back side between these two. Although I'm not really too concerned about metal rusting when it's metal to metal like that. I still like to put something on there. So if you've watched the channel, you know I prefer to use the high heat paint rather than weld through primer, because as a body guy, I can't get it out of my mind that primer absorbs moisture where the high heat paint won't, and it doesn't burn back very far when you weld. So in order to mark that, my point is I'm going to lose my markings here if I do that. So a simple way to do this for me is just to take and either take my marker or some paint. I'll probably just take my marker and just mark these holes so that I can line this back up again. It's going to be a two-step process. Now I know where it goes. I can easily line this back up again. Not that I couldn't figure it out, but again, why think harder than you have to? So what I'll do is, now that I have that marked up, take this off. They're here. I'll go through, clean this up, shoot that with high heat paint, put this back on there, mark this differently so you can see it. I'll put scratch marks in it so you can see it once I put the high heat paint on this. Then I'll be able to put this on there and I'll just tack weld it in a couple spots and it's done. So I like to think once and not think again, because I'm not good at it anyway, so why do it more than you have to? simplest way to do this is to take a punch and just peen those in the center of those little black holes, and it'll get me close enough. But it requires a hammer, and apparently I don't have one here, so I'll be right back. So I'm going to give 3 quick tacks here, here, and here, and do the same thing on the other side once I get that one assembled, and then we can put them together and start making sure that everything lines up the way it's supposed to. I got a feeling this one may be just a touch flat in here, and I can easily just slice this a little bit and peen that down, or whatever I need to do to make that right, but everything else is good. And I want to make sure that once they're both together that these things line up and look pretty close. Looking good, and what I suspected is accurate. I'll show you in a second. You maybe already saw it as I went by it. A little bit of tweaking here and there to do, but remember that we'll be laying a flat piece of steel down through here, so it'll be fine. And then down here, it'll just be a C channel that we make that goes in there that will be just a little bit higher, and so it'll be good as well. But the issue is right here where I suspected. It should have been stretched just a bit more to put more curve in there. So I'm gonna have to work on that with a hammer and dolly and get this down to match closer to this contouring here, or it's gonna look really wonky. So you can see this is low here. If we're not really careful, we're accidentally going to have a frame rail. So I made a little box down here that's ish wide-ish for what needs to be where that longer piece of frame here is going to melt in, and I've got to figure all that out yet, but big deal there. So now the next step I need to do is make my 2-inch block that goes inside of here. And like I said, that's about 2 inches wide. So that'll work well, and that will complete this. So it's 17 inches long, and then I need about probably I want a 1-inch flange, so I want a piece that's going to be 2, 3, 4 inches wide. I just went over in the car and measured the piece that I did for this one for that side, and it was 1.5 inch lip, so it's 2 inches, 1.5 inches, so that'll be 5 inches wide. So 5 by 17. Hopefully I can get that out of there. Oh yeah, we got plenty of material here, so we're good. So I'm gonna make it a little long, just because I can. Again, better to cut it off. And I want 5 inches. So that'd be 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, and 2 is 3 and 5, yes. Okay. little bottom piece made now. So we can bring our piece back up here. Tentatively fit this in there. Like so. Clamp her down here, like so. Well, yeah, good. I got it a little deep in the throat there, but it's fine. And then this needs to just squeeze together just ever so slightly right in here. This needs to be 2 1/4 wide from about here up to about here, where it starts skinnying back down to the 2 inches again. It's about right. So yeah, it's flowing out beautifully. It's just a little wide right there. All I'm going to do is just squeeze that together gently here. I should have bought a couple more of these small clamps. I keep breaking them. They're all cheapos, but they're only $3 a piece at the Wally World. So right there's where it needs to be. So then we just need to make our cap piece that goes over this. So that will blend in with this, and we're going to be good. Yeah, starting to look like a frame rail, isn't it? So this is the front down here, and this is the back that blends into this piece here. I'm going to take a few minutes and just mock this up some more, and I'll be right back. We have it kind of clamped together. I have some work to do in here, blending this with this. This needs to taper down a little bit. This is going to need to taper up more. All of that I knew, but if you remember, I said I was going to figure that out once I got it in the car. So that's the plan, and that's the plan I'm sticking to. It's going to look phenomenal. I'm not worried about that at all. It's just how exactly I want to blend that together so that this flows nicely into that. I think I know what I'm going to do, but I just want time to think about it. So that's good. I obviously still need to make the cap down here. But again, we have an entire piece of frame rail now that has structural integrity all the way through. I'll take you around it and show you what we got. Of all of it, what I did today is probably the most tedious part, and it's not that big a deal. It just takes some time, but if the guy takes his time and works at it, you can turn out a pretty respectable product. So a few little tweaks here and there. I still need to make the cap in here, like I said, but I'm going to wait on that right now. But once I get that on there and get that welded in place, it's going to look really good. But I do need to think about this transition here. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I know how I'm going to do it, but I think before I get that part done, I'm going to get this part done here, get the cap on it and so forth, but I need to find out exactly where this is going to fall in the car, how much overlap there's going to be and so forth. So I think I'm going to call it quits here for today. It's getting late enough and I haven't figured out what I'm making for supper yet, so I better get that done. But I think it's good progress. Yeah, this bending this stuff is is probably what takes the longest out of any making of frame rail. But even tipping the edges, I didn't have that much time in it. But doing these inner structure pieces here definitely takes some time. But it's worth taking the effort and making it look good. So. Let's just face it, making stuff is fun. And if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. This is quite a sense of accomplishment if you haven't tackled something like this. It feels pretty awesome. You really do pull Steve Urkel and sit back saying, did I do that? A ways to go yet, but it's really coming together nicely and going to be everything I hoped it would be. So, we've really gone further than what we did on the other side when we did the driver's side frame rail, because we were able to reuse about a 12, probably an 18-inch piece of that rail, where this one was just too far gone to be able to do that. And I think at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad that's what happened. It takes things further here on the channel and shows you more what you can do if you put your mind to it. Spend some time designing and thinking. And as I've said so many times, I don't recommend doing it this way. That's not the point. I just want you to see that there are other ways to do things besides what many people would say is the right way to do something. And I'm not saying this is the wrong way to do it, but as if you've read the comments, and so many of you have talked to me about some of the negativity I get about how I'm building this car, I don't care about that. It's just that, like many other things in the world, there's this way it's supposed to be done. It's like the cool kids in school, and I was never the cool kid in school, so that's the way it goes. But I like it. I like it a lot. Got to gather my thoughts here. There's a little bit more I want to do, and then we'll be right back. Good old Stitches is coming along, that's for sure. We're going to be doing a drawing for some of those super clean products. Working out the details on that right now. Let's see, this will be a Friday episode, so probably next week, watch for that. We're going to do a special episode for the drawing, so if you're interested, you do have to be a United States citizen. That's coming from Super Clean, not from me. They don't want to pay international shipping for chemicals, which I understand that's very pricey. So if you're a U.S. citizen, you'll be eligible for the drawing. I'll have a couple of stipulations, but yeah, we'll get moving forward on that. So watch for a special episode. I'll probably try to get that filmed yet this week. I'm just waiting on a couple of details with Super Clean to work that out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel at this point, why not? If nothing else, you can subscribe and laugh at me. So, or you can laugh with me, or who knows, you might learn something. Thanks for being here. We're fast approaching 400 on the channel, and that's only because of you guys. I know that. I appreciate that. Subscriptions aren't just for me, but every person who comes here becomes a part of the family here in the shop. We just always include you in what I'm doing in a day. We try to get really in-depth in detail on every bit of the work that we're doing. There's a lot more coming. I got more coming on the 26 Oakland very soon. We're not far away from starting that car for the first time in 75 years. So if you haven't checked that out, go over and check out that series. More coming on the Stitches Challenger, obviously. We're getting so close on this frame rail. Hopefully within 2 weeks we have it in the car and it's done, and I'm going to start making trunk floor, and I can't wait for that. Making floor pans is so much fun, and that's going to be a ball. So if you haven't subscribed, do that and hit the bell so you can find out when episodes are coming out. We're doing episodes on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at this point, just because there's so much work going on.
and I want to keep you guys abreast of things as they develop here in the shop. So if you're on Facebook, by the way, /mycarshop on Facebook, there is a post pinned to the top of the channel or on the top of the page over there where you can post pictures of the stuff you're working on. I want to see your projects. So go over to facebook.com /mycarshop and post pictures of Duddy from Duddy's Adventures. I already posted some of his project over there. I'd like to see everything you guys are working on. So walk out in your shop, snap some pictures, take them over there and post them. We're also on Instagram /mycarshop. So if you're interested in stuff going on there, posting both stuff about what's going on here in the shop as well as some humorous stuff, etc., etc. So thank you for being here so much. I appreciate it. And I think we'll call it a day today. And as always, one more thing. Rock.